You could make the case that Super Mario 3D All-Stars kind of set a new precedent for Nintendo as a company. Before the Nintendo Switch, Nintendo used the Virtual Console as a way to allow consumers to access their vast catalog of older games. On the Wii, Wii U, and even 3DS and DSi, we had access to like the N64 Virtual Console where we could buy Super Mario 64 and stuff like that. As we all know though, that didn't actually come to fruition on the Switch. Unfortunately, we got this subscription-based online service that's bundled in with this NES and SNES online subscription service. While these services aren't inherently bad, and you could argue that you get more value out of them here, it remains to be seen if systems like the Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo 64, or maybe even the GameCube will ever be added to the Nintendo Switch online service. In this kind of middle grounds wherein Nintendo has recently ported the Super Mario 3D All-Stars pack, aka Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy, which could theoretically open the floodgates for similar style ports of Nintendo's older titles. So in this video, I have like 11 or so collections that I would love to see on the Switch, whether they're like HD trilogies that already exist and should just come over, or entirely brand new collections Nintendo should make just for the Switch, like 3D All-Stars. I'm going to be rating each of these collections 1 out of 4 Joy-Con just based on how cool I think they are and how much we need them. And with that out of the way, let's just get right into it. The first ever YouTube video I made was the top 10 ports I want to see on the Nintendo Switch, and even though there were ports I wanted to see, well, more, the number 1 port I listed was the Metroid Prime Trilogy, because at that point in time, we thought Metroid Prime 4 was coming relatively soon, and we need that trilogy so that everyone who's never played these amazing games can get caught up before experiencing Prime 4. Unfortunately, Prime 4 still looks like it's pretty far off in the distance, but that just gives us even more reason to get the Prime Trilogy. Just from a financial standpoint, Prime 4 will not succeed if people haven't been able to play the games earlier in the series. Nintendo's already sunk so much into this title, like they literally re-scrapped it from its entirety. They really have to have this port. I wrote down in my notes here, maybe they could even add in Metroid Prime Federation Force, because I think that game's criminally underrated, but it honestly might just be more trouble than it's worth. The Metroid Prime Trilogy on Switch gets 4 Joy-Cons out of 4. The Legend of Zelda Triforce Collection is probably the collection I want the most on this list, and I feel like that's a sentiment a lot of people share. I even made a full-on trailer for it in my non-Nintendo Direct, which was a completely fan-made Direct I did where I made a bunch of fake trailers for fake games, and the Legend of Zelda Triforce Collection was one of those titles. In my Fantasy Triforce Collection, they would have not only Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD from the Wii U, but they would from the ground up make Skyward Sword HD on the Nintendo Switch. Will this happen? Probably not. If they did Skyward Sword HD, they'd probably sell it on its own for $60. But some sort of Triforce collection like this would be amazing. Once again, I have to rate this one 4 Joy-Con out of 4. Sticking with The Legend of Zelda, I have the Legacy Collection. Now, I'm not entirely sure what this could be made up of. It would 100% have to include Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Both of these games were on the N64, and they could just get the Super Mario 64 treatment, where certain textures are up-resed, the entire resolution is scaled up. Hell, maybe Nintendo will even make the games widescreen, which really should have been done from 64 too. However, you can't really make a full-priced collection out of 2 games from the 90s, so crap, man, I don't know, maybe throw in like 4 Swords Adventures? Something like that utilizes a feature similar to the DS's download play would be awesome, because it would provide a relatively easy way to play that game, but just because I'm not entirely sure what other games would even be in this collection, I can only give this one a 2 out of 4 Joy-Con. Next up, I have the Wii Trilogy, featuring Wii Sports Resort, Wii Play, and Wii Party. These 3 games are phenomenal, and I specifically think Wii Party is pretty underrated. Of course, the name would probably be changed from Wii because, well, that doesn't make much sense at all, but packaging in these 3 games together would not only do wonders for the Switch's casual scene, but it would just make Nintendo boatloads of money. I mean, these games sold phenomenally back on the Wii, just getting that nostalgia, I mean, they would literally make so much money by porting these games. Unfortunately, the motion controls would be pretty whack, so I can only give this one a 3 out of 4 Joy-Con. I already discussed the Metroid Prime Trilogy, but I want to talk about 2D Metroid here for a second. Something like the Metroid Samus Collection or whatever, featuring Metroid Zero Mission, Metroid Fusion, and maybe even an HD remaster of Super Metroid would be incredible. These games are all really fun and would feel great on Switch. 3 out of 4 Joy-Con. Alright, this one's a bit of a stretch, but some sort of Pikmin collection would be really neat on Switch, especially considering we're getting Pikmin 3 Deluxe essentially in a month. If Pikmin 1 and 2 were ever going to come over, I feel like they would have packaged them in with Pikmin 3 Deluxe, but obviously that didn't happen, so maybe a Pikmin Origins collection could come. This would feature Pikmin 1 and 2, both the Wii new Play Control versions, and maybe even Hey Pikmin from the 3DS? I know that game was generally hated, but I feel like if it was packaged in with Pikmin 1 and 2, it really couldn't do much harm. This is just a weird idea though, it probably won't happen, and I don't really see much of a point, because even though there are some pretty diehard Pikmin fans, I don't see many people wanting to get Pikmin 3 and then also wanting to get 1 and 2 afterwards. So this collection only gets 1 out of 4 Joy-Con. Next up, we have the Game & Watch collection. This would just be a slick package of a bunch of Game & Watch games. In fact, this already existed back on the DS as a Club Nintendo reward member. If you remember even what that is, I mean, damn, that's like a throwback now. But yeah, Club Nintendo members could get 2 different Game & Watch collections for the Nintendo DS, and they've never really returned since, which is kind of a shame because it kind of felt like an important part of history. Some sort of Game & Watch collection that just featured maybe literally every single Game & Watch game Nintendo ever put out. I mean, there's something like 40, 50 of them. That could be completely off base, it's just an estimate, but I mean, something like that would be really cool. Obviously wouldn't sell super well, and they'd probably have to market at like $30, $40 for physical, but I still think something like that would be pretty cool. 2 out of 4 Joy-Con. This one is more of a personal want than anything, but a WarioWare collection would be sick. You could make the argument that WarioWare Gold was kind of like a WarioWare collection because that game had 300 micro mini-games, many of which coming from past titles. However, if they were to make a WarioWare on Switch, I feel like they could even surpass that number by including more mini-games. On top of that, utilize features from games such as WarioWare DIY, where you could literally make your own mini-games and share them. I mean, hey, this WarioWare collection has the opportunity to either be a lame 2 out of 4 or a dope 4 out of 4, depending on how much they just do, so I'm gonna put it at a 3 to be safe. Fire Emblem. Well, I don't really care about this series at all, but one thing I find kind of weird is that they started this, well, seemingly line of remakes under the Echoes brand. I remember they remade like the second ever Fire Emblem game on the 3DS under the name Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valencia, and Echoes was not the subtitle, it was like Fire Emblem Echoes and then the subtitle. So just for consistency's sake, even though I don't care about Fire Emblem at all, I'd like to see them somewhat return to that. I don't know, I'll give that one a 2 out of 4, but just personally it would get a 0 because I just don't care about Fire Emblem, sorry. Speaking of franchises I don't care about, the Mother series. The game Mother, Earthbound, and Mother 3, yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with that naming convention, are generally regarded to be some of the best titles of all time, and I just have never played any of them really. However, unlike Fire Emblem, I actually do have a desire to get into these games. Instead of looking pretty generic, they look really unique and special. If they were all ported to the Switch, maybe in the same style of A Link's Awakening 2019, or the graphics of Octopath Traveler in some sort of collection, that would be an instant cop for me, even though I have 0 connection to the actual series. That would be 4 out of 4 Joy-Con. Last but not least, I want to talk about a potential Star Fox collection. Now, even though Star Fox was at one point considered one of Nintendo's biggest franchises, there's really not many games to pull from for a potential collection. I mean, look at this screenshot of every Star Fox game. Let's cancel out the SNES ones because those already exist on the Switch. Star Fox Guard with some weird standalone spin-off that just doesn't really count. Then let's cancel out every single game that is a remake of or a reimagining of Star Fox 64. Dang, okay, I guess these 3 work. Star Fox Command, Assault, and Adventures were all generally well received, and to my knowledge, they're some of the only Star Fox games that aren't directly taking inspiration from Star Fox 64. So hey, might as well put them all together. I'm gonna give this one 2 out of 4 Joy-Con just cause, I don't know. Not sure how many people would really get excited for a package like this. So there are all my collections. How many of these will actually happen? Well, some of them 100% will. I'd be shocked if we didn't get some sort of Zelda Triforce collection on the Switch, and I literally will bet my life that Metroid Prime Trilogy is coming out sometime soon, but obviously you got ones I said such as the Wii collection, which just won't probably happen at all, so I mean, who knows. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. We're trying to hit 100,000 subscribers, and it's crazy to me that we're actually almost there. As of recording this, we're almost at 90,000, so let's try and push over that milestone so we can just complete the final dash of 10,000 subscribers. That would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Thomas from the Switch Stops signing off. Peace.